So we're basing it very much on the character of the player. So we're giving the player the scope to become very sportsmanlike, or very showman-like. So the answers, depend on what sort of a character you are. So it may be I come into a season and say, I'm going to own everybody, I'm going to be the best driver in the world ever. So you're very showman-like. Or it may be you come in and you say, we'll start out small, we'll work our way up, we'll start winning, and that shows that you're very much a sportsman.
So how is that going to actually affect the career? Are people going to react to you differently?
So some teams will want a driver who exhibits a certain character, but also the way in which you motivate your team will also come through from that. So it may be if I'm not performing very well as a driver, but I'm being really, really crass about what I'm saying, I'm not motivating my team well. So it's maybe they get offended by the comments I make, and that decreases my reputation with the team. It demotivates the departments. I don't get the R&D sort of things that I require. I don't get other teams interested in me.
That actually sounds really fun to me, but can I ask how it's going to be paced throughout the career? Will it be after every race or after every tournament?
No, definitely not after every there's multiple sessions, obviously, over the race weekend, and we don't want to just do it every session because that's not really... You
guys going to make...
may sound like a really strange thing to talk about, but the bump stopping suspension's a key component, so we've remodeled how they work. And then we've gone as far as taking the tyre temperature. So instead of it just being the exterior temperature, it's actually the carcass temperature, which can actually, over a long period of time, increase and decrease.
Broad picture, how do you do all of that? This all sounds so technical. You have to be so accurate. Do you guys do a lot of real-world testing? So I have
to talk about the new the super. So we're adding what we term in the super license, which rates the driver based on their driver skill. And also their sort of driver etiquette, and then we'll use an ELO-based matchmaking system to match drivers against races of similar skill levels.
How complicated is that system?
It's too complicated for me to understand.
Competitive, engaged.
We're going to go through
training.
Spectacle. This is in the evening. It's like you'll get it. You'll be working with a team that knows so much about the sport, that are so passionate about the sport.
It just becomes infectious.
It will rub off.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, we've been talking a little bit about the competitive scene, but for people who've never played an F1 game before, what do you have to assure those players that it won't be too complicated, that it's not too simulation heavy, and what's the kind of barrier to entry for those people?
So, at the easy end of the scale, the game can apply the brakes for you. We've got traction control, ABS, and then at the hardcore end of the scale, there's no hand-holding at all. Incredibly difficult. Also, you've got things to worry about like the fuel weights, the tyre temperatures, tyre wear, weather conditions. So it scales really well. And I think that's something that, at an event like this, for example, you get a lot of people who maybe haven't played the game, and they play it, and they're pleasantly surprised how they can actually adapt. And one of the strong things I've had back in the last couple of days has been, you do a couple of laps and you're like, this is difficult. You do 3 or 4 laps and you start to get into a flow, and then it just clicks. And you don't realize when it happens, all of a sudden, you're flying around consistently. We're having a great time.
It must be really cool to see that, with like people actually doing that on the
a lot. Yes.
Can I just ask for the final question, what are you most excited about, or what's your favorite thing about the game?
Where the career, the way we've changed some of the point systems and the way the R&D works, for example. So now the R&D, the player can upgrade their car far quicker. But it may be at the end of the season we have a rules change and the whole season order changes. So season 2, you might find teams that are at the top now down the bottom. So that's a more engaging experience for the R&D, and that's something we learned and moved on from last year.
So the answer to that is that you've done a lot.
We've done a lot, yes.
Can I just ask for the final question, what are you most excited about, or what's your favorite thing about the game?
I think that opening scene there where you finally get into the paddock and you get to meet the new press character and you get to see how visually different the game is this year, how the uplift has impacted upon it. And then just that first turn of the wheel, it just feels, it looks right, and it's total package.